Morning, everybody. Kid MMA. Sorry, I took a little break, a little hiatus right there. I'm gonna just go over the fights that I saw last night, starting with the main event, working my way down. I didn't pay attention to all the prelims, and I was here and there on the main card, but I can just kind of go over what I saw. Starting with the main event, Gutierrez and Song Yadong. At first, the fight was fairly close in the first two rounds, but I still believed that Song won the first two rounds. I'm not sure how people judged the third round. I heard that there were some people that gave the third round to Song. I gave it to Gutierrez. I guess that's kind of just me being friendly, knowing the first two rounds were closer. But, you know, hey, if he won all 5 rounds, he won all 5 rounds. By the time the 5th round came along, it was a later card. I think, honestly, what happened was Chris let the fight and the extracurricular, the outside noises get to him. Understanding that he is kind of going through a lot right now, and that may have got to the best of him, because what I saw was that he went out in the 5th round and went for, let's be honest, the worst Hail Mary ever. Like, it was, as soon as I saw it, I grabbed my things and I said, all right, you know, the party I was watching with, I said, all right, I'm out of here. It's late anyway, and that just didn't help anything at all. So, it was a good performance by Song Yadong. I think he's firmly a top 7 bantamweight. I think he's a legit title contender. I think he can give anyone that holds the belt a legitimate challenge, whether he wins the fight or not. You know, that's up to how the fight goes and how the matchup goes. Next fight I watched was Anthony Smith and Khalil Roundtree. Decent fight. I kind of had a stake in for Anthony. I didn't have any money down. I was just rooting for him. Started off well. What I saw during the fight was that he was controlling the range, but he was fairly tense. And I think when the fight got into close range, it was actually his disadvantage, because he kept a fairly decent feel for his range. Khalil clipped him with the bigger shots the first 2 rounds. Anthony may have landed a little bit more, but Khalil definitely, he inflicted more damage, put it to you that way. And he won both those first 2 rounds, and he finished the fight. His post-fight call-out was a little intriguing. He kind of threw the brass under the bus and then called for the championship fight while he was ranked 11th. Granted, if he didn't throw the brass under the bus and he just called out Pereira, I think that would have been a great call out, and I think he still moves himself firmly into the title picture. I think that's like 5 straight knockouts from him. He looks really focused, and I can't say that coming into earlier in his career. So he looks really focused, and he's dangerous. Like light heavyweight, in my opinion, is the most open division. You got Pereira, but not all, I would say majority of the top 7 are just finishers, including Anthony Smith. I didn't realize Anthony Smith had finished 33 of his 37 wins. Smith has still got it. I can't see him winning the title anytime soon. Maybe he's taken a little bit of damage in his career. And like I said, when he would get hit, he has a lot of heart. But when his feet would stop moving, his shoulders would go up. Shoulders would go up and he'd kind of freeze. That's why I noticed throughout the fight, he would kind of tense up. And from time to time, that's when Khalil would catch him. Credit to Khalil, though, for not following up. It was a beautiful knockout. So, next fight up, we had Nasrat Haqparast and Jamie Mullarkey. Nasrat Haqparast reminds me of a prime Michael Johnson. That dude is really talented. He's given a lot of people, a lot of his former opponents that claimed a victory over him, a very good victory. That was beautiful. That was so beautiful. Really, his last 2 fights have been absolutely extraordinary. I didn't know what was going to happen in the first round. I had heard that Mullarkey was throwing out the idea in smaller interviews that he might shoot for the takedown, which I thought in hindsight would be the way to go. Because I saw that first minute of the fight, and about 30 seconds before he finished him, Haqparast jumping in, landing. Jamie Mullarkey, the longer fighter, he would hit him, but you're catching the arm or you're rolling with it. And I'm looking, I'm like, if this fight just keeps going the way it's going, it's not going to end up well for Mullarkey. And lo and behold, Haqparast caught him quick. He got him out of there fast. Yeah, Mullarkey, his chin isn't the best in the division. I will say that. He has been getting clipped quite a bit recently. He got clipped quite a bit in the Michael Johnson fight, which I thought he lost. He got knocked out by Muhammad Naimov. Haqparast knocked him out. I want to say Turner did as well. Jalen Turner did as well. It's an awkward position. Just because I don't see Mullarkey as a featherweight, and I don't see, if he did go to featherweight, that he wouldn't have problems with his chin as well. So Mullarkey's a really good fighter when he gets into his striking sets and when he gets into his flow. But Haqparast is fringe top 15. I think he deserves a fight to climb into the rankings next. Next fight up, we had Tim Elliott and Sumudaerji. Tim Elliott, he's one of my favorite fighters. I like Tim Elliott a lot. Still showing that he's going strong. The judges in his last fight against Makayev had him winning both rounds, which I could see. I legitimately could see. I want to say I had that fight 1-1 going into the third. But the rounds had, both rounds had an argument for either fighter winning the rounds. Regardless, Tim Elliott is still top 10. He's still a tough night out for any flyweight on the roster. It keeps him firmly in the mix at the top 10 and potentially a title. He's really talented. Yeah, so that was my thoughts on that fight. What was the first fight of the night? First fight of the night was Andre Muniz and Jung Young Park. I thought Park won that fight. I could understand why people thought that Muniz won the fight, but if Muniz won the fight, he clearly won the second round. The third was a toss-up. The first, I thought that Park landed in a great position to end the round, and I thought that he stole the first round. even though it was close. I think that Park won 2 close rounds and Muniz won a dominant second round. Park just did more damage. Muniz had control when he did get into his positions, but Park just had a lot more control. He had a lot more damage. I thought he deserved to win the fight. I don't think anyone's stock rose or fell from that fight. So that is what it is. Next fight down, you had Song Kanan and Kiefer Crosby. Really good kickboxing match. Well, you also had Giuseppe with the threat of the takedown as well. Giuseppe is really talented. Pretty soon he's going to need a stiff test. Yeah, because his frame is just. Tell me if I'm right or wrong. I'm watching the Giuseppe and Song Kanan fight, and then I watched the Jung Young Park and Andre Muniz fight, and they both look the same exact size. Even though they're fighting, those were 2 huge welterweights. I mean, that's the type of frame that you need to compete at the top of the division at welterweight. Both of those guys are massive for the division. And I love how Giuseppe fights. He's one of those, what I say, strong strikers, where he's jacked up, but he uses that to his advantage striking. He uses a strong jab. He can keep his distance well. He uses his strength to add confidence in his striking, to where he's not going to get his hips out of position in striking to throw some wailing, flailing, stupid shot and leave his hips open for the takedown. He fights with his weight behind him. And he threw in the threat of the takedown as well, which is what I was really impressed with. So it was an impressive win for Giuseppe. It was a decent fight. Song Kanan was game, but I thought he lost all 3 rounds. Next fight, I had a hissy fit because I had a little free bet parlay down, and I lost the Ezekiel Costa and Steve Garcia fight. This is why I should have done my homework doing this, because you never bet on fights that you don't know what the fighters are about. And I did it. So I bet on the hype of Costa. He came out, and I had not really brushed up on any of Mr. Garcia's talents, but he had great defensive grappling. It was a stalemate. It was a stalemate with the core strength, and when he got going, he just put the whooping on him. Even in the first round, I'm like, man, he looks like he doesn't want any part of Costa didn't want any part of Ezekiel Costa striking. So, and then the last fight that I paid attention to was the Tyra and Hernandez fight. I watched the first round. I didn't really see the knockout. Tyra doesn't. Yeah, he's 15-0, but he doesn't feed the hips when he's on the ground. Like, who was a good example that fed the hips well during this fight? The third fight from the fight. Who fought? It wasn't. Who fed it? Fuck. Was it Tim Elliott? No. Regardless, anyway, he feeds the hips well. Or not. When Tyra fights, he doesn't really feed the hips that well. It's like a difference between him and Bryce Mitchell. Like, Bryce Mitchell is all about getting his hips close to you first, rather than using his core, his upper back. And a lot of fighters do that. And I feel like jiu-jitsu is weaker nowadays, just because a lot of fighters don't really feed their hips whenever they grapple. They rely on their chest and their upper body and their abs to plant a base on a fighter. They don't sink their hips, and I guess it's just because they're both men, and and they don't want to be called, you know. So I don't know what it is, but at the end of the day, he doesn't feed his hips well, and that's why you could kind of see. Yes, he did stay on top, but a more explosive flyweight's gonna buck out of that. You know, like I don't. His technique could use a little more improvement, even though he is very dangerous and he's very offensive with his grappling as well. I am happy that he showed development and he did get a knockout on his record. He is a very talented, he is deserving of a ranking. Let's get that clear. But I still see areas in his grappling specifically that he needs to improve on. He's only what, 20, he's only 23 years old. I love, he's got something going. They say like they made like stamps of him in Japan. In Japan. And he kills me. He kills me. I'm happy, thank you. So I mean, look, he's pretty popular. He's pretty marketable. He's a good fighter, but like I said, I do see a lot of improvements that he can make. So those were the fights I went over. I will be diving into 296 on a full detail this week, and I hope to have that done by Thursday. I hope to have a video out for you guys Thursday. Sorry I took a break. Kid and my man, come back to you Thursday, I promise.